endorsements, and basically anything else you can come up with. Well, we have some of the hottest takes. Some of the craziest takes. But there we go. Some of the dumbest takes. And where we believe that opinions are like. And now, to your hosts, Joel, Isaiah, and
Ben. Yeah, I know I'm getting pretty lazy on that intro. I got to start getting Ben involved.
Yeah.
But thanks for tuning in to the 6-3 podcast this week, guys. I'm your host, Joel, my co-host, Isaiah, and Ben. And Bill O'Brien just got canned, and there are plenty of other coaches around the league that may also be seeing their way out soon. Who's next in line to follow Bill O'Brien?
I mean, to me, it's got to be – I think – so we talked about the hot seat for the past couple weeks. I think last week I definitively had Adam Gase, Matt Patricia, and Dan Quinn. I think Adam Gase is a little safer than the other two because he still has a young quarterback, even though the Jets are terrible. I think it's Patricia or Quinn. Falcons seem like Quinn at least has past experience to kind of have in his name. Like he made a Super Bowl. He like had a good team at some point with many of the same players he has now. But I don't know. I think it's Patricia is next in line to get midseason can. He's just looking terrible. Just like I think when you're up by you're up 14-7, and then you have 35 unanswered points, and then you kind of make start getting a comeback. I think a lot of that is coaching, not keeping your foot on the pedal, not having a good game plan to maintain leads. That's a big thing in the NFL, knowing how to just consistently put points on the board. If you're up by a touchdown, how do you stay up by a touchdown? Mm-hmm. That's where coaches really make their money, when they can just get a lead in the first quarter and just, even if they aren't blowing the gates off or blowing the doors off people, keep the lead. And Matt Patricia can't do that. He surrendered. They've had huge unanswered point streaks in all their games this year. Big comeback. So I think next in line, I'm glad the Texans got rid of Bill O'Brien. He's a bad coach and a bad GM because he did both. But I think Matt Patricia's has the hottest seat right now.
I would say he does have the hottest seat, but I also kind of have no faith in the organization for doing the proper thing and getting rid of him. He definitely deserves to be the next guy. Canned. I don't care if they win. I don't care if they win their next 3 games. At this point, it's clear and evident to me where the direction of this team and this organization is going right now, and it's not in a positive direction. People can point to, hey, they've taken some leads, whatever. Like Isaiah alluded to, they've blown every lead. It's really hard to blow teams out in the NFL. I mean, as witnessed, the Browns were blowing the doors off the Cowboys this week, and then of course Cowboys, make a crazy comeback, Browns still win. But it's hard to blow teams out. It's just hard to do because the talent level is pretty. I wouldn't say it's equal across the board, but everybody's good, right? So like you said, it comes down to coaching in these games where you come out like gangbusters, you come out and you start playing real well, you go up 14, and it's okay. Now the other team is going to make an adjustment, and a good team like the Saints, a team, well-coached team, a team with good players, a team with a really good quarterback, a lot of good players, especially on offense, they're going to make their adjustments and come back. All right, now you need to take over. Your coaching acumen needs to adjust, needs to do something else to continue and keep the momentum, because it was all on the Lions side in the first quarter. And until probably late third quarter, the Saints pretty much took it right to them. And then, of course, the Lions made a little bit of a comeback and, made it interesting. That's great, but you can't win football games playing the way they did, relying on giant comebacks and, like that. You got to keep the game close, or you got to maintain momentum early when you take the lead early like that. So I would say it should be Patricia, but I'll just go with Gaze because the Jets are really bad. I think they're probably even worse than the Lions, and I just don't have any faith in the Lions organization for getting rid of them when they should. So
I'm trying to look at the big picture on all that. I agree kind of with both things you said. I mean, Matt Patricia should probably be one of the next to go. I mean, the only other guys that do probably, follow Bill O'Brien and Matt Patricia would be, Dan Quinn and Adam Gase. And Dan Quinn's been in the hot seat for like the last 2 years, and then he pulls something out of his butt and holds on to his job. So I don't know how much longer they're going to keep that leash going. I know Arthur Blank is not he's not notorious for a long leash. Dan Quinn had a lot of success before he's kind of fallen off the rails here in the last couple of years. Adam Gase, I mean, the Jets weren't really good last year either. They had some better defensive players, but Adam Gase still brought them to 7-9. So if they want to review what they did last year and then completely ignore the 0-4 year they had, because they knew they were tanking, they got rid of a lot of their key players like Jamal Adams and stuff, and some of their offensive linemen, Kelechi Osemele, those are key starters that they intentionally got rid of. And with the injury of Le'Veon Bell, they're probably just they have excuses on why they're losing.
Yeah.
The Lions have a roster on paper. I mean, we did it when we were doing position rankings, that if they could get somehow a little bit better on defense, they have the offense. And the offense is still proving to put up some points. They just don't – the coaching doesn't let them put the foot on the neck or the dagger in the back, to finish them. You got to be able to finish teams, and that's where I agree with both of what you guys are saying. Matt Patricia should be the next one to go, but I don't think the organization is going to do it. And if they did, I really thought it would have been this week, this bye week. Why are they waiting?
Yeah, it's perfect time. It's a perfect time.
If you're going to 2 weeks to get your coach implemented into a game plan, kind of get along with new players, even if it's a temporary coach that's already on the Lions staff, whether it's Corey Unlin or Braden Coombs or any other coordinator they might have that steps in, it's not Patricia, and it still offers new opportunity to kind of see what else you got out there and what other coordinators might be available for you to take next season to start over.
Eric Bieniemy is my choice.
I like Bieniemy a lot. I like the defensive coordinator for the Steelers as well right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think even if they want to go off the board and pick, I mean, kind of like what the Cardinals did with picking Cliff Kingsbury, Sean McVay style, just kind of taking a chance on a guy who's a different system than most things in the NFL. As a fan of the Lions, even if we're not going to make the playoffs, I want it to be fun to watch. The Cardinals probably won't make the playoffs this year. They're fun to watch though. Watching Kyler Murray do some fun. I know that it's players, but it's also a lot of game plan. Just watching and being like, man, this is kind of a fun team to watch. I want to tune in and see what they're doing. But yeah, I know. I was just looking. I pulled up the standings, which has point differential on it. The Jets already have a negative 66 point differential, 17 worse than the other New York team, which is in second place at 49. Because the NFC East is all
they did get their first lead last week, though.
The Giants have scored. The Giants have scored 3 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if I'm running a team, Adam Gase, Matt Patricia, and Dan Quinn don't make it to the end of the season.
I could add Zach Taylor, Mike Zimmer, and Anthony Lynn to that list, but I think those guys have a little bit of a leeway yet.
Yeah,
I think if I had to rank the next 3 after Gase and Quinn and Patricia, I would put Zach Taylor, Mike Zimmer, and Anthony Lynn. If the team,
I think with Anthony Lynn, there's been enough uncertainty on the roster for him to, because one thing we don't see as, and maybe we hear from some reporters, something we don't see as fans readily is the meetings that happen before they get fired. Because GMs and owners, presidents, whatever it might be, do talk to them. They sit down and say, hey, man, this isn't looking good. What are we doing? What went wrong on Sunday?
Right.
Anthony Lynn can at least be dude, I lost my even if you don't want to pay him $10 million, my star running back, I lost our veteran quarterback. We've had a lot of turnover. We're trying to figure out a new system. We got a brand new quarterback. And you can at least hold off.
And he is a former coach of the year. He can put up his resume.
And you can hold off hope for maybe 1-2 seasons when doing that. That's why I say Adam Gase might not be the next to get fired, just because he can be hey, Sam Darnold's still young.
Yeah.
whatever. He's making it up. He's not telling the truth at that point. But you can get in the ear of a soft GM and a soft president if you do that. But yeah, I think all those other guys. And again, Zach Taylor, same thing. Like brand new quarterback, very tough division. Second year coaching. He has excuses of why he shouldn't be fired, even if in 3 years we're like, man, what an awful coach. At least at this point, he can use all these other things to say he shouldn't get fired. But yeah, I don't know what the average number of coaches that get fired every season is, but
during the season, it's really rare. I know that most of the time during the season, it doesn't happen very often, but there will probably be about six terminations after the season.
Well, I think the difference in why O'Brien got fired in the season is, I mean, they had expectations this year. You know, any of these other teams, I mean, obviously we have expectations for the Lions, but, you know, outside expectations other than Lions fans, they probably weren't playoffs. You know what I mean? You know, they were hopefully close to 500, and we'll see where it goes from there, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, so that's a difference. The Texans on paper, I thought they were a playoff team. I mean, tough
division,
schedule, like tough schedule. We all talked about it. We're like, yeah, they should be a pretty solid team, you know, second in the division probably and right there. So, you know, if you start 0-4 and you have those expectations, I mean, there's really no excuse. You know, you should have the roster. You should have the expectations. It's not like Deshaun Watson went down with a catastrophic injury or anything like that. Sure, you've got
and J.J. Watt's healthy so far, even through 4 games.
Exactly. So it's just not working. And maybe, you know, he fell victim to the tough schedule. I'm sure he did, because they've had some tight games with some good teams. So I get that. But, you know, to me it makes sense. You kind of have to stir things up. And what they're probably hoping is, okay, let's stir things up. Let's get the players' attention. You know, even if they don't like Bill O'Brien, maybe that's good that we get rid of him. And if they do like him, let's get their attention and say, hey, this can't fly, and let's see if we can turn it around after 0-4. Which, like you pull up the stat, 0-3 teams are they have like a very little chance to make the playoffs. 0-4 is probably even lower. I'm sure it may have happened before, but it's very rare. So, you know, I'm sure that's what their idea is. The difference between O'Brien and like a Zach Taylor or Anthony Lynn, you know, at least Zach Taylor can say, hey, we just drafted all these young guys, you know, that are supposed to make us better, but they're not going to be able to do it right away. I mean, Joe Burrow, like, he's here now, and, you know, we got to develop.
Higgins, he'll get good.
Yeah, you've got all these, you know, young guys that we just need time with. That's his excuse. Probably a good enough excuse. I mean, you got to give him a little bit of a leash. Anthony Lynn obviously has the resume a little bit more. And, you know, Tyrod's hurt. Justin Herbert's shown some good moments. I mean, he was really good against Tampa Bay last week until the interception late. I mean, if they weren't playing Tom Brady, they would have won. I mean, that's really what it turned out to be.
He's still like one of the season leaders in passing yards.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a great season.
Like, for the games he's played.
Exactly. He's been
good. So one team that is 0-4 has made the playoffs ever. In 1992 was the 49ers.
Wow.
And I think like with some of these teams, like I'm harping a little bit on point differential again because I like it as a stat, but you have some of these teams that are like the Chargers, they're 1-3, but they only have a negative 12-point differential. So they're in games, they're in close games, they're just not turning up their way.
And that's it. That's
even like the Miami
even experienced player.
The Miami Dolphins are -3 at 1-3, but then you have teams like the Houston Texans who are -46. Like, that's just bad. That's just bad. And they have even though they lost DeAndre Hopkins, they have way too good of a roster to be that bad. You have, like, the Lions have a good roster, but they don't have a way too good of a roster to be 0-4. Like, we could see them being 0-4. We could see them having a losing record in the season. Yep. The Houston Texans are too good on paper to be that bad in my mind. And I know it's like they fired the coach. It's a lot about coaching. It's a lot about how you use that talent. But yeah, like, you have one of the best up and coming quarterbacks. You have, even though you lost your number one receiver, you have a lot of weapons at receiver. I mean, David Johnson, as far as I've seen, hasn't looked miserable this year. He still can do things.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's weird because then, like, it's so different than NFL right now because then you have, like I mentioned earlier, the NFC East where no team has a winning record, but like Philadelphia Eagles are in first place. Like they like, and everyone around them doesn't look as bad because they're still in the hunt in the division. Like I think that's one of the things with like the Falcons or like the Lions and the Texans is like, while you're 0-4, 1-3, Green Bay's 3-1. Tennessee Titans are possibly going to be 4-0. Like the people at the top of your division are, yeah, they're great. So like, it's one thing if you suck, but everyone else sucks, and like, ooh, hey, we'll make a playoff push. But like, once you get to 0-4, once you get to like 1-3, and the teams above you are still doing great, like your season's over halfway through the season. So it's just a different world because like the Dallas Cowboys have the same record as the Lions right now, and they're similarly as bad at point differential and like how like they had really just one comeback win that they shouldn't have had.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have hope. Like they're not getting as much hate. Like people still are saying they suck, but they're not getting as much hate as another team because they're like, ooh, hey, we could still do something with this. But when you look at the Texans, they can't do anything with that.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, and so we see the Falcons are 0-4. I think they're kind of a surprise. We can move to the surprise teams. The Vikings at 1-3, kind of a surprise for me.
Yeah.
The Cowboys at 1-3, kind of a surprise. Mm-hmm. On paper, when we did our position rankings, Cowboys looked good at pretty much every position.
Yeah.
And then
the Rams at 3-1.
Yep, that's a really good surprise. And then obviously the Texans at 0-4 is probably the biggest surprise, negative surprise.
Buffalo Bills at 4-0 is surprising too.
I didn't expect.
I had them win the division, but 4-0 just it screams really good right now. But
I think certain teams are just better than I thought they were going to be in general. I mean, the Patriots are better than I thought they were going to be. Their defense is still very stout. You saw last night. I mean, really, if they had played that well on defense last night and had Cam, they would have beaten the Chiefs.
Yeah, and that fumble call was atrocious too.
That was atrocious. That was horrendous. But then the other thing, Brian Hoyer was quite possibly the most unaware quarterback I have ever seen play the game last night. So, if he hadn't, and they signed him to be the veteran-aware presence, yet he was complete garbage. So
I don't know how you don't maybe he's really not ready, but I don't know how you don't play Stidham in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stidham was pretty bad too. Stidham had 2 picks really early on.
Yeah. I just would have stuck with him, man. He would have tried to make a name for himself.
I'm still high on Stidham. Don't get me wrong. Maybe he really isn't ready. The fact that he struggled coming out of the gate, though.
The Chiefs are a good team, but it's like, man, the opportunity was there. If you just not, Hoyer takes the sack at the end of the first half, and then tries to call a timeout he doesn't have. And I'm like, well, come on, dude.
Yeah.
You can't tell me they didn't tell you on the sideline or talk to you about, hey, we got no timeouts, don't take a sack. It's just that's the one thing you couldn't do is that or throw an interception. That's the only 2 things you could not do.
I think one thing that's surprising me, not just a team, but I guess 2 teams in one division, but the AFC North, how competitive that is. Yeah. You have the Ravens at 3-1, Cleveland Browns at 3-1. Steelers will be either 4-0 or 3-1. Even the Bengals, like I said, they look like they kind of are putting something together. Joe Burrow looks like he could be competent. At least at this part of his career, I don't think any of us picked that to be our most competitive division, and it is very competitive.
No.
Yeah. I picked the Browns to go 8-8, so obviously I had them finish 3rd, but I had the Ravens and Steelers battle it out at 1 and 2. But that's a good division, and Joe Burrow is definitely. We thought he'd have a few more bumps in the road than he's had, and obviously it's still a long season, so who knows? Yeah. But it looks.
The
really
Carolina Panthers aren't awful.
They're still bad. They're still bad.
They're still bad.
But that's what happening right now.
When we did our season preview, the Rams and the Panthers, I was like, I think they're going to be bad, but not awful. And you guys looked at me with.
I know you're right. The Rams are the biggest surprise. The Rams.
Yeah. I just had to mention them.
I don't understand how they're winning. I really don't.
I don't either. It's not like Goff is having an outstanding season either. He's just
he's not. He's just being okay. I mean, he's just not losing games for them. So I don't know. Maybe McVay's a savant.
We did it. We did say McVay is a better coach.
We did. But
Well, and I mean, their only loss is in overtime to the undefeated Bills. So
yeah,
if they're going to play Washington next week, probably beat them. They're going to play the 49ers after that. If Garoppolo's not back, they might beat them.
CJ Beathard will be fine.
Yeah, and then they play the Bears, the Dolphins. Like they could have a good record halfway through the season.
Yeah, they could.
I mean, the second half of their season is tough. They play a lot of really tough teams, and they'll even out and probably not make the playoffs. But
they're still doing better than maybe they're where you anticipated, but better than where Ben and I anticipated for sure.
I thought they might be able to win a few games.
I thought they'd have a top 5 draft pick. Let's just run that.
Yeah, that's what I would guess. Yeah,
and they still could. They could go 3-13.
Yeah, it's true. What teams like right now stick out as the best team in each conference? NFC, AFC, who are the best teams right now? It looks like.
I still go Chiefs AFC. I still go Chiefs AFC. I mean, obviously, like they're undefeated, and I think it is kind of playing out how we thought, though. Like they've had tougher games. They haven't just ran train on everybody. I mean, even that game last night, like really, if they had played, been as explosive on offense as they had been before, I mean, they should have blown the Patriots out with how poorly their Patriots quarterbacks were playing. So, I mean, the Patriots have a good defense, so it's part of it. But
you said also if Cam Newton was playing that game, they probably would have won.
They probably would have won. That would have posed a lot different challenges. But I do think the Chiefs, I mean, they've got – their D-line has been playing a lot better than I thought it would. We've got Taco Charlton's sacking people left and right. I mean, Frank Clark's playing great. Mike Dana's getting in there. There's, obviously 3 Michigan guys, but, they're all playing real well. So I still think it's probably the Chiefs and the AFC. The NFC, Green Bay. I've liked Green Bay.
Yeah, I say Seahawks and Chiefs in mine, but
me too.
What the Seahawks are putting out every single week right now, Russell Wilson is MVP. I think he's the MVP.
Yeah.
I mean, Green Bay, I'd probably put second or third for sure in the NFC. There's no question there, but
I don't know. Aaron Rodgers is playing at an absurd level too. I mean, you saw his comment today. It was hilarious.
No, with Pat McAfee,
that was funny. He was like, I don't know. People get on me about having down years. My down years are career years for other quarterbacks.
Yeah, gotta love that humility.
The subtle flex there, yes.
I mean, I agree. So I think it's the Chiefs and the AFC. I mean, they played them and beat them, but you could say the Ravens and the Steelers. Like, I mean, we have to see the Steelers. I think I'd like them to play some more tougher competition. But I'd give Seattle it. I'd give Seattle it in the NFC just because, again, with the Packers too, I want them to play a little tougher team. The Saints was a tough one, even though the Saints are 2-2, but that means the Packers haven't played an over 500 team yet. So they played the 0-4 Falcons and then the 1-3 Vikings and Lions. So I'd like to see them, like we'll see this week when they play the Buccaneers, who are looking like they're figuring it out. They look like Tom Brady had an incredible week this Sunday, but it'll be, I want to see that game. And then I would say, like, if the Packers just handle the Buccaneers, they're number 1 in the NFC, but if they struggle or lose, and then it's clearly the Seahawks in my mind.
I think the Buccaneers are probably right now like 4th or 5th for me. But like you said, it did look like, I know they're playing the Chargers, so the Chargers aren't great, but it did start to look like they kind of got some rhythm on offense now.
Yeah.
And, started putting it together. Ronald Jones has been really good. They're starting to get healthy. Mike Evans was incredible, playing on one leg basically last week. And, if Brady starts to put it together, I'm not expecting 5 touchdowns from him every week. But, if he starts to get on the same page with some of his receivers, maybe gets Gronk involved a little bit more, that's going to be an explosive offense. And, I think you'll probably find them near the top 2 or 3 by the end of the year.
Well, and I think with the Buccaneers, like without having a preseason, kind of neat. Like, I think it's good that they had the Broncos and then the Chargers to get a couple tune-up games. Like, not saying, I mean, every game in the NFL can be competitive, but just like give them a couple softies just so they can start figuring some stuff out. So Tom Brady can get kind of, instead of having to try to win a game, can try to like play the game plan. talk alongside Arians without it having to be a crunch time situation. So
Yeah.
I'm sure he likes that. I'm sure that's part of what's helping them kind of start to click. But yeah, they got the Bears and the Packers 3-1 and 4-0. So we'll see how good they really are, and if they can hold on to the number one spot in their division, then I think they're clearly, the number 3 team in the NFC probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So fantasy surprises. Kind of was going through some of the. So quarterback. What quarterbacks have really just outdone themselves so far this year? Obviously we're a quarter of the way through the season. What guys are overachieving?
Josh Allen.
I have Josh Allen. Yeah, he's third. He's third right now. I have
Josh Allen.
Dak. At least Dak's all right.
I think a lot of people at Dak as a top 6. So he's definitely been good because he's first, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's that. Joe Burrow he was 8th. I think he's 8th currently right now. And I think that's Cam.
Yeah.
Yep. Cam's been good. Deshaun Watson and Phillip Rivers I have as the 2 disappointments.
See, I do agree because Phillip Rivers normally puts up a lot of points, but at the same time, I know a lot of Colts fans going to college in Indiana, and they were talking, they're like, the guy can't even throw the ball with any velocity past 5 yards down the field. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he's old. And, I kind of saw it coming. They've been a good team. They've won games. But, yeah.
Yeah, he's still making smart decisions, helping him win and stuff. But, to see that success that the Colts have and him still being 27th out of 32, that's wild. And then Deshaun Watson, he's a top 5 fantasy QB most of the time. He's sitting at 12th.
Kyler's been good.
Kyler's been good. Yep. I think people again anticipated. I think most leagues had Kyler at least get drafted this year, just because anytime you have a mobile quarterback on top of it, just really helps your numbers.
For sure.
Running backs. Who's the biggest surprise? I think is James Robinson. He came out of nowhere and he's now 4th out of running backs.
I think Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's been really good.
Yeah.
And I wasn't obviously
Yeah, because he's splitting time with Nick Chubb.
Yeah. You have Chubb, but now Chubb's hurt, and that's part of it. But, I wasn't sure what to expect from him. And he's been what? He's top 10, right? He's 7th.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's 8th right now. But
right.
Ronald Jones, 23rd, is a lot higher than what most people have. He's 23rd right now, but if you look at the last couple of weeks, he's top 8. So,
I don't know where everybody thought Aaron Jones would be, but being as good as he's been, I'm not sure anybody picked that.
Yeah, I was going to say same with Alvin Kamara. Kamara had a lot of people picked him first overall last year, or at least top 3 last year, but he had a kind of a down year from that. He was probably still top 10 or 15, I think, but he was kind of ranked as that this year, top 10. He's ridiculous, especially on the receiving end. It's ridiculous.
I had the opportunity to grab him in both my leagues. I picked 5th in both of my leagues, and I ended up going Derrick Henry above him in both of them still, just because I wasn't sure about the injury history. But, Kamara being the number 1, Derrick Henry's not – he's picked it up. He just put up 31 points.
I would say he's no slouch. But
yeah.
Right. But,
getting carry after carry.
Kamara's putting up just, incredible numbers every single week.
Despite Latavius Murray still averaging 10 carries a game. He's still.
I picked Latavius Murray up right before the game started the other day.
Yeah,
that's not a bad move at all. He's getting the ball too.
If you're in a PPR league, you Alvin Kamara's gold right now.
Yep. Yeah. And the other thing, I think, obviously most people pick McCaffrey, Barkley 1, 2, in whatever order. Obviously, with both of them being hurt, that kind of changes how the running back outlook looks. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been really good. Josh Jacobs has been pretty solid as well.
Joe Mixon would have been 45th if he didn't go off for 41 points last week.
Yeah.
Now he's not. Now he moved up to 9th. But 5 to 9.
He's the boomer bust though for me. I feel like that's always kind of how he's been. He's relatively a consistent back when you look at his total year numbers, but it's there are some dud weeks from fantasy.
There's a lot. First 3 weeks he was getting no more than 7 points.
Yeah, it's you can't have that out of a
guy that you're drafting in the 2nd round.
Exactly. That's not. You can't have that. So.
Chris Carson's been surprising.
Mhm.
I mean, number one. I think we all knew he was going to be the number one back in that room, but yeah, he's being really productive.
Yep.
I would say Mike Davis at 26th. I mean, it's kind of far back if you think of all the running backs, but Mike Davis, we probably had 120th in the beginning of the year for running backs. Disappointments, Derrick Henry being 11th right now, I would say. I mean, he's expected to be top 5 fantasy points for running backs, and he's 11th. And then Miles Sanders is 29th right now.
Super disappointing. Yep. I actually traded him from one of my leagues because I was like, I'm just not.
So he missed week 1 though. So I mean, this is 3 games that still has him in 29th. So he probably 20th, which isn't awful, but it's not a guy that you want to rely on.
It's not somebody that you want to waste an early pick like that on. Yeah. And obviously the disappointments and the injuries. If you take Christian McCaffrey or Saquon, I mean, most people picked them at least top 3, probably 1 or 2, either one. That's really disappointing if they're hurt. Obviously Saquon is hurt. He's out. So. That's a bummer.
Yeah. So wide receivers, I'm going to say my obvious surprises, good surprises, Calvin Ridley and DK at 1st and 2nd.
Yep.
Then I would put Justin Jefferson at 14th.
Yep.
And then my disappointments are pretty heavy right here with Jarvis Landry 51st, Julio Jones.
He's a great quarterback.
Yeah, right. Julio Jones 54th, Marvin Jones Jr. is 70th, T.Y. Hilton is 77th. And Brandon Cooks is 85th.
Yep, and then I would also say, I mean, this just leans injury-wise, but Mike Thomas has missed a lot of time, so if anybody wasted an early pick on him, it sucks. Yeah. Not necessarily anybody's fault, but
I didn't put a whole lot on injuries because there's been injuries for everybody, but
surprising to me, maybe not that they are good, but just how good they are. Robbie Anderson and Stephon Diggs.
Yes.
I'm looking at NFL fantasy, so it might be a little different, but Stephon Diggs is number 5 right now. Robbie Anderson is top 10.
Is he top 10? I had him right. I thought he was 15th in my league, but yeah.
Terry McLaurin's been really good.
McLaurin's good. Yeah.
Robbie Anderson on this is 9th. So.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think Calvin Ridley. The surprising part is just how much better he is than Julio Jones in fantasy.
By far, yeah. First,
ridiculous.
54th. Yeah.
Yeah.
Russell Gage is actually doing better right now for the Falcons than Julio Jones.
Allen Robinson's been really good as well. Allen Robinson's been great.
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson are just pretty consistent. We kind of talked a bit, just not fantasy-wise, but just in general about the rookies this year and who's going to be a standout, who's not, and they just seem like they're not obviously leading the league, but they're doing really good. They're solid pickups if you got them late.
I'm pretty disappointed a little bit in Julian Edelman.
Oh yeah, with drops.
Yeah, it's just that wasn't normally his thing, and obviously he had a great relationship with Brady and whatever, but lots of drops. He was never going to be a guy that was just going to go off for 30 points, but he's pretty consistent where he catches everything, and that's going to get you a decent amount of points usually in a PPR league, especially. He could rack up 8-9 catches a game, and that's quick, 10-15 points just like that. So, he's been pretty disappointing.
Tight ends, Robert Tonyan. He's a former Lion, by the way. Lions had him.
Of course he is.
Yep, he was undrafted free agent by the Lions, and then they cut him. And then
Dalton Schultz.
Mo Alley Cox is 4th.
Yep.
Jonnu Smith is 5th. And then we got some disappointments here, like Hunter Henry at 16, Zach Ertz at 18,
Zach Ertz
at 25, Evan Ingram at 27, and Gronk is 43rd.
I'd say Gronk has barely gotten the ball, but they just put O.J. Howard on IR, didn't they, today?
Yep. So it's just Cameron Braid and Gronk over there now. But
yeah, so I would expect him to probably get a few more looks coming up.
Dalton Schultz for the Cowboys.
Yep.
No idea. I'm just looking at a ranking. No idea who that even is.
Oh yeah, he was supposed to be Blake Jarwin's backup.
Yeah. Dallas Goedert's had some good weeks.
That's why Zach Ertz is struggling. I mean, they've got tight ends there, but they're good.
Goedert's on IR now, though, I think, right?
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews has been awesome. I know most people picked him to be awesome, but he's You get 2 touchdowns from your tight end. That's a pretty sweet week.
Noah Fant. Noah Fant's doing really good.
I think he's
like
top 10. I think, yeah.
Yeah, he's number 4 on my list.
Yeah.
Kickers, first and second, Randy Bullock and Rodrigo Blankenship. So then you have the disappointments there. Cammy Fairburn is 20th. Greg Zerline Legatron is 25th. And Dan Bailey is 30th. So I think obviously kickers it's a weird position anyway. But, Bullock and Blankenship are probably like the last resort kickers for just about anybody in their first and second right now.
Right.
Even Matt Prater. Kind of being just in the middle of the pack. He's usually top 5.
Yeah.
Yep,
He gets those 50-yarders. He's missed them all this year.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
He
needs fans.
Yeah.
Real quick, I know I don't think we mentioned him, but I've liked, this is going back to receivers, DJ Chark this year has been,
he's like 25th or 26th right now.
Yeah, but he was hurt for 1 week.
Yeah.
He was hurt for 1 week, and every other week he's put up points. He's put up a lot of points. So I think he's been awesome when he's played. So
that's a good one. I missed that.
And Will Fuller's been a bit of a surprise, in my opinion, as well. Kind of a boomer bust, but, when he has big games, he typically can put up, he'll be in the 20s, high 20s. So,
yeah. Last position here, defense. Colts are first.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are 4th. The Washington football team we thought were trash, they're 13th.
Yeah.
And then the disappointments, the Saints at 15, the Bills at 17, the Titans at 24, and the Cowboys are dead last.
Yeah, I believe it after that last week. The Seahawks haven't been very great either.
I was just gonna say the stats that I do every week. Like the Seahawks have allowed 7 100-yard receivers in 4 games, which is most in that span in NFL history. No team has given up more 100-yard receivers in 4 games.
Which
go ahead.
Yeah, they don't have a great secondary.
No.
They are, especially their cornerbacks. They just don't have great cornerbacks.
Yeah. If you look at, for the Seahawks, their trends on 2020, if this is ESPN, but if you look at it, they've busted, so they've performed worse than projected 3 out of the 4 weeks. They have yet to perform better than projected.
Wow.
So, and they're not, and defenses are never projected for more than 6 or 7 points anyway. So, it's pretty. Their average points, this is just ESPN, but their average points are 1.3.
Wow. 1.3. That is
1.3.
That
and
is.
I had to play them this past week. It was horrible.
All right, what everybody wants to talk about: French Open, tennis. What do you guys think? I'm just kidding. I just saw an update.
Nadal. I'm gonna go with Nadal because he always wins it.
Yeah. I just saw an update, so I was like, "Hey,
there you go."
Yeah, didn't really need to. In the first 3 games, I had mentioned Joe Burrow was sacked for 14 times, which was the most in the NFL in the first 3 games. He only got sacked in the last game, so that definitely probably saved his body parts a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
they're killing him in the first 3 games.
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton has fewer than 100 receiving yards in 15 straight games, which is the longest streak of his career. So he's got to get it together.
Philip Rivers, he can't throw the ball past 10 yards. So.
Mm-hmm. And here's another surprising stat because we talked about him earlier, but 2 quarterbacks are completing 75% of their passes and averaging 8.5 yards per attempt this season. Russell Wilson is one. The other is Philip Rivers. So again,
he's accurate. He's accurate. He's just throwing the ball for 8 yards every time.
Which is that's wild that he's putting up 27th in fantasy points.
Yeah, he just can't. He doesn't score touchdowns. That's just really what it's come down to.
Through the first 49 games of the season, officials have thrown flags for 101 offensive holding penalties. That's 59% fewer than last year and 49% lower than the previous 5-year average. So they're holding on to their flags a little bit, and I think that's actually enjoyable.
Yeah, I hate it. I feel like sometimes we get into a ref show where they feel like they have to call something every play.
But holding happens in almost every play. It's like if it's
right.
really,
if it's not, to me, if it's not affecting the outcome of the play, then let it go.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's around the end, there was one real bad one this past week where it's like it turned into like a 50-yard game and they called it. It's like, okay, yeah, it clearly impacted the play. But if it's on the backside of the play, who cares?
Keep the yellow in the pockets, man. I get it. Cowboys defense has allowed 9 touchdowns on 108 pass attempts. So in other words, they're giving up a touchdown every 12 times the opposing quarterback throws the ball. That is terrible.
I would throw the ball every down against them right now.
Matt Patricia has lost 12 of his last 13 games, despite leading in all but one of them. He's lost the last 6 games in which he's led by double digits, which is an NFL record.
See, but that's so.
You can't fire him.
No.
Nope.
No.
See how
That's-
close they
that's
are?
not
You see how
coaching.
close they are?
Yeah, that's not coaching. Sheesh. I just with Bill O'Brien's firing, a reminder that Patriots assistants turned head coaches are 2-14 this season. The 2 wins are actually Matt Patricia and Brian Flores.
There's Brian Flores, yeah. The
Yeah,
two there.
Joe Judge and O'Brien were 0-8 combined. Let's see. The Texans, when they fired Bill O'Brien after the 0-4 start, Houston is 0-4 for the 3rd time in franchise history. And he's also the first head coach to be fired within 4 games of a season since Joe Philbin in 2015.
Yeah, I remember Joe Philbin. Yeah.
Aaron Jones has 25 touchdowns since the start of 2019, and that's less than 20 games, which is the most in the NFL.
Yep. Superstar.
Bill O'Brien was the 3rd coach since 2009 to be fired 4 weeks or fewer into the season. The others were Dennis Allen and Joe Philbin. I got a couple more here. The Packers are the first team in NFL history to start a season with 4 straight games of 30-plus points and 0 turnovers.
Wow.
So you had talked about why you said the Packers are really good. Obviously, no turnovers still in 4 straight games, and you're putting up 30-plus points, which means you're moving the offense, you're moving the ball.
Yeah, it's not like you're not taking shots.
Yeah. So that's impressive to really think about that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, next couple games for sure. But
And then this is now a 2-1 lead with the Lakers in the NBA Finals. Game 4 is tonight. What are we expecting for the rest of these finals?
I had a cool stat for you, Joel. I just looked it up. Jimmy Butler is the 3rd player ever to have a 40-point triple-double in the NBA Finals. The other 2 are the logo, Jerry West and LeBron James.
Did you see the stat? Jimmy Butler is the first player ever when playing against LeBron in the finals to score more than him, out-rebound him, and have more assists than him in a game. So
Good.
typically LeBron has more of something in a game, and he is the first player ever to do that.
You know,
It's more about LeBron than Jimmy, in my opinion. So.
Right. I think the Lakers are still going to win. The Heat, the biggest thing for the Heat, even though they won the game without, one of the games without them, is those injuries to Adebayo and Dragic.
Isn't he playing tonight?
Adebayo is questionable for tonight. I think he's playing, but Dragic is out seemingly. I think he said he tried to practice, but I don't think they're going to let him. If it would be a closer series with him, they'd probably try to force him in there. But I would really love the Heat to win. I just really don't like the Lakers. I'm not outside of how good of a player LeBron James is, I'm not a fan of LeBron James. So, and I just love Jimmy Butler.
Walk off the court. That was so good.
Yeah.
Walk off before the game was over.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Jimmy Butler fan. I think, Jimmy Butler has gotten a lot of flack the past couple of years because he has, that 1980s, 90s mentality of, if you – the Michael Jordan mentality, obviously not as good as Michael Jordan, but if you are not trying to play as hard as possible every single game, I don't want to be on the court with you. And he's rubbed people the wrong way with that. He's gone to 3 teams to try to find one. Hopefully, finally in Miami, he found it. It looks like he did. That feels the same way. He was too big for Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. He was too big for Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. So it's good to see him find a team that he fits the culture of and he can lead. It's great to see him be a superstar emerging out of that. And an obvious person who seems to be able to lead a team to a championship. He has no other all-stars except Bam this year on his team with him. So I would love the Heat to win again tonight if Adebayo's back and everything. But as much as I don't like him, LeBron James is LeBron James. He's an incredible player. He has
Anthony
another
Davis is Anthony Davis.
yeah, he has another top 5 player on the team with him for the first time, in my opinion, ever. Like Dwayne Wade was incredible, and so was Chris Bosh. But the years they played with LeBron, I don't think they were either of them were a top 5 in the league player. But yeah, I would love the Heat to pull it off and have a miracle, but it just doesn't seem like they can.
I don't think they'll win. The Heat will win. They're really fun to watch, especially obviously.
It's such a better story.
Yeah, a better story. I think they're way better coached, in my opinion. I mean, Spoelstra.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that last game, Spoelstra, was great. I mean, just the stuff they're drawing up for Duncan Robinson, and you can see the attention that the Lakers are having to pay Duncan. I mean, they are not helping off of. It's kind of funny if you look at it. Like there was one play, I think Jimmy, they just stuck Robinson on the right wing, and Butler drove right. So he drove right. He had Robinson to his right. And, typically, regardless of who it is, unless it's probably Steph Curry, the guy on the wing guarding Duncan Robinson is at least going to step in and try to reach a hand in. And this guy was just glued to Robinson. They will not let him get shots off. But you can see what they started to do last game is, okay, if you're going to do that, then we'll just play 4-on-4 with the other guys and let Jimmy Butler just take guys off the dribble and see where we go from there. So they're so much better coached. They're so much more fun to watch, in my opinion. Obviously, LeBron and AD make some crazy highlight plays all the time. It's really fun to see. But it would be awesome to see this series, get extended a little bit, maybe go 6-7 games and just see what happens. Because, if it goes – if they can even up the series a little bit, get 2-2 here, then the pressure starts to fall on the Lakers again. It's like, okay, they won the first 2 games. They, like everybody expected them to. The Heat come out. They play a great game. If the Lakers win tonight, the pressure, in my opinion, is on the Heat from there on out.
Yes, for sure.
But if the Lakers win or if the Heat win tonight, it's like, oh, maybe they do have a chance. Maybe, then the media is going to be all over the Heat, all over LeBron, and saying like, hey, like, they could lose. Like they actually could. And I think with momentum, if they get hot, I would like to see that. I don't think it's going to happen though.
So
I think people always root against LeBron if it's not in his actual team, just because, just the attitude sometimes. Like he rubs me the wrong way. But
I'm going to make 2 hot takes about these finals, and you guys can hold me to them.
Okay.
If LeBron James, if the Lakers lose to the Miami Heat, I never want to hear LeBron James' name in a GOAT conversation ever again. Like people say like, oh, he's made it to 10 finals, even though he has only won 3. Like Jordan only made it to 6, yada, yada, yada. But like, if he can't win when he is just the odds-on favorite with another top 5 player, and I don't like Michael Jordan is solidified greatest ever. I still think he is in my mind, but 2, I think that LeBron will probably win Finals MVP, but Anthony Davis is the one that's going to deserve it.
Davis has been, I shouldn't say he's been a better player necessarily, but he is the game changer for them against the Heat. Yeah. Because they can just say, hey, LeBron, go get you go get yours. If they didn't have AD, that team's not that great. It really isn't. Kuzma's okay. They just don't really have that many other pieces.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Warriors, their first championship when Iguodala won the Finals MVP. Iguodala was not the best player on the court, like on the winning team. Steph Curry was. Anybody would tell you that. LeBron James is the best player on the court in these finals. But Andre Iguodala had the best series out of anybody. He, for all intents and purposes, as much as anybody could, locked up LeBron. He had a great defensive plays. He was productive offensively. But I think it's the same way. LeBron James is the best player in the series, but Anthony Davis is having the better series.
Yep.
He's had a stronger 3 games. He just has. Now,
if LeBron goes out and drops 50 like 3 games in a row,
right,
that changes the narrative.
And that's why I say I think LeBron will win it, because I think game 4 or 5 he's going to drop. He looked at Jimmy Butler drop 40. He's going to drop 40.
Yeah.
And then everyone would look at just that game and they'll be like Finals MVP. But I think Anthony Davis, in my mind so far, deserves it.
Yeah, and the thing with LeBron is he could go drop 40 whenever he really wants to.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not that is what's best for his team at that moment, and or what's going to win them the series. So
I always, that idea that, LeBron can drop 40 anytime he wants to. He really could, but to me, it reminds me the most of, like I always said, Ichiro Suzuki could hit a home run if he really wanted to, but he always tried to just get on base.
Yeah.
His swing, he had a good swing.
Mhm.
He always just took the base hit, got on base, used his speed. So, I mean, it's a weird comparison going back to baseball, but it's like you have certain things that these players could do, but they know what's best for the team to try to, may not be predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because LeBron could just say, it could be like the 2018 finals. He could just say, I hate my team, screw them all. I'm going to drop 40 every night and lead in every statistical category every single game. And then lose in a 4-1 – or no, they got swept. Get swept. Or he can say, I'm going to do what I can to help my team win, because that's where the Lakers live and die. If they're role players, if Kuzma, if Rondo, who looks pretty good this finals, if these guys can do stuff and have productive nights, mostly facilitated by LeBron, then the Lakers play well. If LeBron's just controlling everything, him and Anthony Davis, and these other guys don't get a chance to get in the rhythm and get in the groove of the game, then when they rely on them at the end of the game, when you're double teaming LeBron and double teaming Anthony Davis and you need Kuzma to hit a shot, he's cold and he can't do it, and they lose the game. So I think LeBron's learned that through his long career, that I don't know if I can just do that, but he's got to facilitate.
I don't know if did you guys watch any of The Last Dance?
Yeah,
I watched highlights, but yeah.
Yeah, so there's a big portion of it, the beginning of Jordan's career, where he was going out there and he was just dropping 50s left and right. He would drop 60 some games and he was just going crazy scoring. But nobody else on the team was doing anything. And this is pre-Phil Jackson, right? This is pre-Phil Jackson rules. And basically what they alluded to is and what Phil finally got him to do is hey, you don't necessarily need to do that every game. He's sometimes that's what we need because nobody else can do anything. So sometimes you got to go be Superman and you got to go drop 60 and win us the game. He's but other games you might just need to go get 25, but also have 15 assists. Some games you might need to do this. Maybe you need to rebound a little more. And then, maybe you only need to score, 20 points. And that's how we're going to win. So I think I agree. LeBron's kind of learned that over his career, and Jordan had to kind of go through it too. It's these crazy good basketball players can obviously, these two guys, mostly just these two guys, can obviously go out there and drop 50 if they wanted to, but that's not going to necessarily win them the game. And it wasn't winning Jordan games, and it wasn't winning Jordan championships by any means. That's when he was getting beat by the Pistons all the time, and that's when he was getting beat. And so he had to learn and finally did, and that's when they started taking off as a team. So
yeah, I think Phil Jackson's quote was something like, "If you want to keep winning MVPs, that's fine, but if you want to trade them in for rings, then listen to me." You got to. And it's funny that Jordan still just won MVPs and championships.
Yeah,
but yeah, he didn't. And that's why he doesn't have as gaudy of numbers as LeBron James will end his career with, because Jordan came to a point that LeBron is coming to now. I don't have to lead in all these stats. I could lead in steals, I could lead in assists, I could lead in all these things, but I want to win 72 games and get to a championship.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's sprint through the pick six, guys. All right, Bucks at Bears.
Bucks.
Close
game. Bucks probably. I think it'll be closer just because I think the Bears D is good, but their offense is horrendous. And Nick Foles didn't look any better. So Bucks.
Yeah, Nick Foles, Tom Brady on paper says Bucks.
Yeah, this isn't the Super Bowl with the Eagles.
Yeah, exactly. Bills
has to be a backup. He has to be a backup, otherwise he's not good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bills at Titans.
Ooh, Bills. They ride the hot hand. Josh Allen's out there balling. I go Bills.
I'm going to say Titans. I think they're going to come in hot. because they didn't play last week.
Yeah, I think the rest a little bit is going to help them. Derrick Henry's going to keep the momentum after he's put up 30 points. And Bills defense has been a little more disappointing. If they would still be like a top 8 defense or whatever, it'd definitely be really more of a tough call. Probably closer to like 49-51. But I'm going to go Titans on this one. Colts at Browns.
Colts. I'm going Colts. I don't think the Browns are actually that good. Colts defense has been a little bit of a good surprise. I think they'll be able to control the ball a little bit. I think what happened against Dallas is like Dallas likes to throw the ball. They're pretty risk heavy. They're a risky team. I think Jonathan Taylor running the ball, just being able to kind of control the clock a little bit better. Colts win. It might look close, but I think they'll pretty much control the game.
Yeah, I'm going to say Browns. I think, yeah, because I feel like it, because they're good and they should be good.
Yeah. They should be.
They should be. Yeah, on paper that offense is elite. But I am also going to go with the Colts. I think kind of like what Ben alluded to, they're going to control the clock, time possession, and they're going to kind of change the pace to what the Browns have been used to the last couple of games. It's going to be a slower game for the Browns. They're going to have less time on the field, and it may feel more rushed to make Baker mistakes. So
I think I'm just craving that late November, early December, like in the hunt graphic with 3 teams in one division. Like if Pittsburgh loses and the Ravens win and the Browns tie, then the Pittsburgh wins the division. Like I'm craving.
All right. It could happen. It could happen.
Yeah. I wouldn't be mad then if the Browns win, but I'm picking the Colts here. Number 4 here, we're going to go Game 5, Heat versus Lakers. So we're not going with tonight's game that's already started now. We're going to go with the next game. Heat versus
Game
Lakers.
5? Gosh, it really depends.
Really does
depend on the Lakers.
So basically, your decision may fall on tonight.
Right.
It does, but I'm going to go Lakers.
I'm going to go Lakers. Yeah, if the Heat win tonight, there's no way LeBron James is losing 3 in a row. Mm-hmm. And if the Heat lose tonight, they're going to just gentlemen sweep them.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. You alluded to if the Heat win tonight. I don't even think the Heat win tonight, so I'm also going to go Lakers, and I think it's just going to kind of clean sweep. They might just finish them in 5 games. So yeah, number 5 here. Padres at Dodgers, 9:38 tonight for the first pitch. Mike Clevinger, Walker Buehler are the pitchers.
Dodgers, Clevinger's coming off of being hurt. I think he probably gives them 3 or 4 good innings. I just don't see how much he's actually really going to give them. Buehler's healthy, is a beast. Dodgers lineup is tough. I wouldn't be surprised if the Padres get to him for a few home runs, a few highlight plays, but I'm going to go Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm going Dodgers here as well. I think they're my favorite anyway to win the National League. And
Clevinger actually kind of struggled a little bit even before the injury with the Padres. So, yeah.
Clevinger has the stuff though to be good.
Oh, so no doubt. He's got as good a stuff as anybody.
Yeah. But yeah, Walker Buehler is obviously elite too. So I don't know. I'm still going Dodgers here, but
I have no idea what's happening in the world of baseball, so I'm going to go with the Padres to be different.
Oh, I like it.
Good. Young.
Tatis hits a grand slam, and it's a new game.
Yep, exactly.
Last one, pick 6 here. Texas at Oklahoma.
Both teams limping in a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to go Texas. Oklahoma is soft. Spencer Rattler is
disappointing. Biggest disappointment.
Whiny baby.
But the biggest disappointment in college football. People really thought he was like the next Heisman.
Here's the thing with Rattler. He's incredibly talented. He's actually still putting up some pretty stupid numbers. His numbers are not bad. He's just made really big mistakes in bad times. And, I just think, I don't know. There was somebody talking about Lincoln Riley's teams and stuff, and they've gotten, like, inhuman quarterback play the past 3 years. From Baker, Kyler, and then Jalen Hurts, right? Eventually, Water's going to find his level a little bit, and I'm not saying Rattler can't. I wouldn't be surprised if, 2 years from now or even a year from now, he does put up some crazy numbers like that or, has some type of season like that. But, they've sent a lot of guys to the NFL the last few years, and I just think they're soft. They're a soft team, and they haven't had this kind of adversity. So I just think they're a soft team, and the Big 12 is soft in my opinion. I don't think either team's very good, but I'm gonna go Texas. They're just a little bit more.
It's like the first time they played in several years where Texas is ranked and Oklahoma's not. I mean, Texas is 27 right now.
I think it'll probably be high scoring though. It's probably gonna be up and down for sure.
Yeah, I don't even just think Oklahoma's soft. The Big 12 is the softest conference in
No doubt.
football.
No defense.
I'm sorry, but they're just like, yeah. But I'll go Texas.
I'm going to go Oklahoma. I think Rattler's going to have some kind of rebound here. And it's a rivalry game, so knock it out of the park. But
I mean, yeah, okay.
All right, well we got some difference. We got some.
Yeah, unlike last week. How did we do last week, Joel?
Ben, you won, and Isaiah and I both got one wrong. So, or two wrong. No, Ben and Isaiah got two wrong. You got one wrong.
I don't even remember my picks.
So
I wasn't even here.
What you're saying is I'm winning the whole thing.
You want to win? Well, because you won the first week too. You had two wrong. I had three wrong. Isaiah had four wrong in the first week. So
I know.
And it bad.
I gotta start adding them all up. But
we should add them up because it'll be a monologue for the victor. So
that's right. Yeah, we had to talk about ourselves. That's the most gratifying thing in the world.
A victory speech.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you again then for this October 13th then. And maybe not Isaiah because he's getting married next week, right?
Yeah.
I will be gone the next 2 weeks for sure.
All right.
So is that the end or is that the beginning of a good life?
That's the beginning. What?
Well, that's right. Okay, we can go off air. I'll pause the stream and you can tell.
Hey, she's in the room next to me. Don't make me say anything.
He's a saint.
All right. See you guys.
Congrats.
We'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Yeah.